You can't help but feel nostalgic when you see pictures of old stores, because nothing can ever match the experience of browsing the aisles at the old Five and Dime. So many of the formerly adored retail meccas are now just fond recollections. While some businesses have evolved to become online-only shops, others have barely left a digital footprint. We'll be looking into 10 American retail stores that are no longer in business. Number 10. Circuit City. The Ward's Company, which Samuel Wurtzel founded in 1949 and operated across the country, was a forerunner of the electronic superstore model in the 1970s. The business had more than 550 locations when it was in its zenith and provided a wide range of electrical products and services. Even in 1988, they had the option to acquire the budding Best Buy company, but they decided against it since the CEO of Circuit City believed they could just drive them out of business. Well, in the end, that didn't work out. When 2007 arrived, salaries were being decreased, businesses were closing, and management turnover was at an all-time high. The company stopped operations in 2009, and Circuit City's days were over. Number 9. Linens and Things. If there is one thing that many of these now defunct enterprises have in common, it's the number of them appeared to be destroyed by a mix of acquisitions and management changes. The home textile and housewares big box retailer was founded in 1975, and by the time it launched its 55th location in 1983, it had experienced rapid growth. In 1996, it was bought and finally spun off once more as a separate company. As of December 2006, the company employed 7,300 people across 571 locations across 6 provinces in Canada and 47 states in the United States. The company started to run into financial problems after being repurchased by Apollo Global Management in 2006. The company was eventually forced to close its storefronts in 2008 and switch to an online-only business due to its string of losses and declining sales. In May 2008, Linens and Things sought Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection from its creditors, but it failed to properly restructure and come out of bankruptcy. Number 8. Sam Goody. Sam Goody was impacted by the music industry's digital transformation in a similar way to many other music sellers. A tiny music store in New York City that was established in 1951 later merged with Musicland to help the brand grow. At their height, the 800-location Sam Goody branded stores generated several $1 billion in sales. It was kept afloat for a very long period because it had practically become a synonym for music retail. Sam Goody helped numerous clients enjoy a great deal of satisfying purchasing experiences because he grew up around the contemporary music industry. Yet, after battling through a few acquisitions and modifications to his business strategy, the outlet started to close. Most of these stores were either gone by 2012 or had just changed their names to FYE. Number 7. The Sharper Image. The Sharper Image was a catalog company that thrived on high-tech accessories and specialty goods, much like Sky Mall. The company was founded in 1977 by Richard Thalamir as a catalog company selling running watches. Subsequently, the Sharper Image expanded their product line through their catalog to include expensive, futuristic technology, electronics, massage chairs, and air purifiers. Eventually, the company opened 187 outlets in 38 states. Strangely enough, a product for air purifiers was what finally contributed to the company's end. Sharper Image filed a lawsuit when Consumers Reports awarded their iconic Breeze products failure scores. They were also sued by customers for misrepresenting their goods. When the lines of responsibility were drawn back and forth, senior management shifted and consumer interest waned. In 2008, the business filed for bankruptcy. Number 6. F.W. Woolworth. F.W. Woolworth was a mass-market retailer and one of the most prosperous five and dime companies in the United States and abroad, defining trends and developing the contemporary retail model. The Woolworth's Big 5 Cent Shop, which offered everything for a nickel or two, was established by Frank Winfield Woolworth in 1879. F.W. Woolworth was one of the most recognizable retailers in America for 117 years. The first five and dime store was established in Utica, New York in 1879. Over time, it expanded into an empire that included 21 states and even reached Canada, Great Britain, and Germany. Yet as shopping centers and other chain stores gained in popularity in its later years, Woolworths found it difficult to maintain its relevance. Woolworth enjoyed great success up until 1980s, when fierce competition compelled them to focus more on its sporting goods section. The business finalized its closure in 1997. Number 5. Borders. Books have been in demand since Gutenberg invented printing. It was ultimately the human urge to learn or to enjoy stories that gave rise to massive bookstore companies like Borders. The bookstore, which has been around for about 40 years, reached its pinnacle with over 500 U.S. locations and even more through other brands and franchising. Borders, a once dominant bookstore, was unable to respond swiftly enough to the technology advancements of the 2000s. When many readers began migrating to ebooks, Borders concentrated on expanding its CD and DVD section. Yet by the time 2007 rolled around, the company was finding it difficult to stay in operation. While the company maintained opening new locations, it lacked a solid digital and internet strategy and even at one time outsourced online sales to Amazon. There were several attempts to keep it alive, but by September 2011, the chain had folded, with its locations closing and competitor retailer Barnes & Noble purchasing its trademark. Number 4. Radio Shack. When Radio Shack first opened its doors in 1921, it was a small company. Hobbyists in radio and electronics were the company's main target market. This provided them with a sizable market for decades, and as the new computer and video game era came into being, interest in electronics eventually increased even more. The renowned TRS-80, one of the earliest widely used home computers, was also created by Radio Shack. At its height in 1999, Radio Shack ran approximately 8,000 locations under the name Radio Shack, or Tandy Electronics, throughout the world, including those in US, Mexico, the UK, Australia, and Canada. However, the popularity of their business decreased as online shopping increased, and fewer enthusiasts were purchasing their goods, much like many other businesses. The company filed for bankruptcy in 2017, had a small number of locations that were still open but were owned by other people, and had lost its status as a major retailer. Eventually, the brand was acquired to try to make money online. Number 3. Toys R Us. Who can forget their childhood desire to be a Toys R Us kid? The chain contained nearly all of the things a kid could want, including toys, video games, books, and motorcycles. Yet they struggled to adapt to changing times and competition from places like mass market retailers and online purchasing, like many retailers have over the past few decades. Toys R Us failure was caused by its massive debt load and shifting consumer preferences. The well-known toy store originally catered to a vibrant niche market, but it failed to compete with inexpensive retailers like Target and Walmart, as well as Amazon, and it was burdened with enormous debt from a leveraged purchase in 2005. The chain declared bankruptcy and started selling off its assets in 2017. They had shuttered most of its U.S. locations by the middle of 2018, with the final 2 following in 2021. Number 2. A&P. From 1859 to 2015, the Great Atlantic and Pacific Tea Company was in operation. A&P, as it is commonly referred to by customers, once held a significant position in the supermarket industry. A&P was the biggest grocery retailer in the U.S. from 1950 through 1975. After being purchased by George Huntington, Hartford, the business expanded from a small number of retail stores selling tea and coffee in New York. From then, it gradually transformed into a full-fledged food store over time. By 1878, the company had 70 stores, and by 1900, it had nearly 200. By introducing the idea of an economy store in 1912, A&P saw rapid expansion. By 1915, it had 1,600 stores, and by the end of its history, it had about 16,000. Unfortunately, the store's concept had grown stale by the 1970s, and poor customer service was a constant problem. Although it was brief, the chain did manage to stage a little resurgence in the early 2000s before finally going out of business in 2015. Number 1. Blockbuster. In contrast to today, when you can stream almost any movie, TV show, or video game from the comfort of your couch, Blockbuster used to be the place to go for renting both new releases and time-honored favorites. The home movie rental industry was one of the most significant to grow as a result of the invention of the VCR. People watching movies at home instead of the theaters was never anticipated when the cinema industry first began decades earlier. If you wanted to rent a new film, chances are you had to do a Blockbuster Video, which had more than 30,000 locations open worldwide at its commercial zenith. Blockbuster made enormous profits as video rentals became ingrained in our culture. The days of "Be Nice, Please Rewind" were past, and Blockbuster famously went out of business as streaming services and mail-in DVD options became accessible over time. Over time, the emergence of Netflix, Redbox at grocery stores, and video on demand drove Blockbuster out of business. Once Dish bought the business in 2011, the final corporate-owned locations shuttered by 2013.